I'm Milk, chosen few, and I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Milk. What's going on, man?
Oh, I was like, we were just talking to me. How'd that happen?
Yeah, we have technical difficulties pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
So how you
yeah.
doing?
I'm good. Slow motion. Another day in beautiful paradise,
So
Arizona.
tell me, tell the people what your name is, where you're from, and then we'll get into your story, man.
Milk Walker. I've been milked. I mean, I'm 55, and I've been milked since I was 8 years old. So, because I was named after my grandfather is the only reason I didn't go legally change it when I got older. But it's Milk with two C's, um, and born in Los Angeles, grew up in Minnesota, South Minneapolis. Uh, Pretty much from the age of I think 6. My mom moved me to Minnesota in 6, which was 1976, and then lived out in Minnesota till 89, where my grandmother raised me and had bad arthritis, and they told her to move to a warmer climate, and then she chose Las Vegas. So in 89, we moved to Vegas, and for 33 years, that's where I called home. And then 2021, I was actually getting ready to go to Houston or Austin or Alabama. And Arizona called me and was like, we would like you down here. So this is where I ended up.
So do you remember living in LA?
No, little stuff. My mom lived on 111th in Normandy, and my dad lived off of La Brea and Olympic over by Los Angeles High School. So no, as far as like memories of that, we kind of bounced around. My mom bounced us between uh, Seattle, um, Oakland, and then uh, Minnesota. For some reason, I remember Montana. I don't know why, um, but by age 11, somewhere I think around 8, my mom came back into the picture because when she sent me to my grandmother, she came back, and then my mom died of leukemia at 33. So when I was 11, she passed away, and my grandmother had me, and so Minneapolis, Minnesota is home. That's where all my youth and high school, elementary, junior high, all that was Minnesota.
What was it like growing up there?
Cold. It's beautiful. It's the culture. Um, the it's when you when you go. I grew up about 7 blocks. I grew up on 40th and Clinton, which is about 8 blocks from where George Floyd was killed on Chicago and 38th. So, which was really down the street from Phelps Park, which was a walk away from us. And then Martin Luther King Park, which was the park we really used to go to and play ball at, was right across the highway from us. But that whole area is the South Side. And so that's where I grew up. Then when I left in 89, the Hmong community, the guys in the orange sheets, those were the predominant, I would say, foreigners of the time when I was growing up. There was no Somalians or anything foreign other than that. Really, the Hmong. There's a huge Native American community in Minnesota, and my oldest son is native from Red Lake. So there's a huge native. But as far as like now, the culture in Minnesota is so saturated with different ethnicities and uh, countries, the people that have moved there.
I tried to find an Italian church to go to because I lived in Minneapolis,
Really?
right near where you're talking about, man. I
Oh,
went and did a documentary down there in Chicago. I went right to the cup of food and I interviewed people on the street. I was
yeah.
all over that neighborhood, and I
Chicago and Lake Street.
I could not find an Italian church. There was Somalis everywhere. I
Yeah, I
couldn't.
should say. Yeah.
It was
Maybe
really weird. But I was a
St.
DJ
Paul.
strip club.
St. Paul.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Yeah,
all the way over there. You know.
yeah. But
Oh
I'm
shit!
thinking that's probably where you had found one over in
My
St.
chair
Paul.
just broke. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh man! God damn! Did you see that? Fucking shit just fell.
Mm-mm.
I
You
put a
gotta get some
quarter in that
phone.
mother.
You get some
A
phone
quarter.
books now.
Yeah, put a quarter in that motherfucker. I was hoping it would hold. So yeah, I stayed. I got offered a job being a DJ at a strip club down at the Seville Club down there, and I took the job. They offered it to me when I first started YouTube.
Mm.
So I took the job and I stayed there for 6 months. I didn't like it.
When was this?
2022.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so much. Like if you had been back there in the, so I mean, I last time I lived there, I went for a stint after 9/11. I moved out there, 2001, 2002, or no, I'm sorry.
Way before it got invaded by all these people and the
Well,
people.
it's kind of no, really. When I moved back like right after 9/11. What year was 9/11?
2001.
Yeah, so it was like 2002, 2003. I moved out there, and I had a friend of mine. It was a mutual. My brother Bo, um, um, shameless plug from No Words Concept clothing line. His boy Chris Manning was is a reputable cat out there, and he had a nightclub named BC Nightclub over on the Nicollet Mall Strip, um, and it was the little hood spot everybody enjoyed going to, and Chris was known in the streets at the time, so he had a lot of the you get there was a time where after 11 o'clock Chris came in and said no Little John, no music that was going to get them riled up, because there always ended up being fights. But that time I was down there, and it still felt like, a little home. But after I left and I started going back to visit, it seemed like the Somalians really came in and took Minnesota over. Like I never heard of Somalian Crips or none of that. And you go out there, Minnesota, that whole Midwest is like Disciples, GDs, Vice Lords, Black P Stones. So Bloods and Crips hadn't really taken it like they are out there now.
The
But
30s, right? The 30s is pretty big.
yeah, yeah,
People rock the 30s shirts and stuff. I was interviewing a couple of them out in the street.
yeah. It's a
What
whole different dynamic.
did you get into the gangs out there when you lived out there?
No, it's crazy because I didn't start I didn't start banging until I moved to Vegas, and I ran into Big Mo and Gangster Black from 11/8, and that's how I end up getting put on. But in Minnesota, I had cousins. I got cousins now that are still their Bloods, the Slaughters, um, uh, uh, the Walkers. Like I said, my grandma raised me, and she was one of them. She was from Alabama, and she was not playing. There was no like, you better be in before the street lights. Uh, I used to sneak out about when I was 14, 15. I was good at stealing cars. I used to sneak out the house and go with my cousins and take cars, and then be back in the house by 5, 6 in the morning to get ready for school before my grandma would wake up. She never
Yeah.
knew I was gone. Uh, that was probably the bad things that I did, but I never, even they kept me out. Like I'd say something or try and get involved, and they'd be like, "No, your grandma will kick your ass. You ain't getting in." And Farley Cotton, uh, Bird, there was guys from over at the Boys. club over on Bloomington and Lake Street that were kind of like youth outreach guys that were reputable neighborhood cats. Um, People looked up to them at the time, and those were the guys that the youngsters that was coming in, they kind of steered them away. Some got involved anyways, but those were the guys that I grew up around that were older than me and that kind of pushed me away. I was able to hang around because of my brother Bo, and but I never got involved. And then when I moved to Vegas at 18, and I met Black and them at the swap meet over on Lake Mead and Eastern. Yeah, Lake Mead and Eastern Civic Center, and it just took off from there. And it was one of those. I knew the area, so I could be who I wanted to be, and and then I just that's again, like I said, I've been milked since I was 8, and that came from my brother Bo, and they was shooting the dozens, we call it. Uh, You're so white, you look like milk. There was a name, and it just kind of stuck. And at the time, I was breakdancing. I had my hand and I was rapping, so I was like, it just stuck. And then when I got I didn't change the spelling until I won't say I was 18, right when I moved to Vegas. And I met Black in him, and it was like, it was Milk up until I moved. Um, I used to be at a little group, New Breed Productions. So when I got with Black, which was Gangster Black Productions, and then the whole little rapping thing, then it was the two C's. Um, and again, like I said, I was named after my grandfather, so I didn't want to disrespect that. So I never changed it legally. But it's always had people say, "Your mama named you Milk," and it's tattooed on my back. So again, I'm one of them cats. If that's what I told you that my name is, just call me what I say. So
Yeah.
and it's been that ever since. Like I said, then um, when I first got to Vegas, I kept going back to Minnesota because I really didn't know nobody, and it was a whole different. It was the West Coast, and the whole West Coast vibe to the Minnesota vibe is night and day. So I had to adjust to that, and then finally I made my niche and did my things and made a name for myself out there, and then
You're already out of high school, right? When you
yeah,
moved, you're out
yeah.
of high school. So how do you even meet people? You just walking around and like,
So back in before I moved to Vegas, so the strip from Convention Center Drive, there used to be the Stardust, is what used to be there. Now it's uh, I'm blanking the name, but they just built a new hotel on it. But Convention Center Drive down to where a little past Circus used to be the cruising spot. So all the cats would come out on Friday and Saturday night, lowriders, the Suzuki Samurais and sidekicks with the beats in them, and they would just run that street, and they park in the McDonald's next to Slots of Fun, and then there used to be a Arco gas station with the Arby's and a Guinness Book of World Records little museum. So those were the two spots people used to sit at and post up, and that's where parking lot pimp. You hit up the girls that would be out, and that's actually how I met my youngest son's mother was at the McDonald's on the strip, and it was I had a homeboy named call him Dookie, but he had a Suzuki, so it went, and he was trying to get at her girl that had a '62, and I ended up talking to Ange, and we hit it off, and it just
Dookie and the Suzuki, right?
Dookie with the Suzuki, and
So a lot of people might not understand that there's a big gang banging presence out in Las Vegas.
huge. And it's crazy because see, so again, 80, maybe 87, 88 was when really crack really started blowing up, and then a lot of Bloods and Crips out of California started spreading. Kansas City, Little Rock, uh, Minnesota, St. Paul, Chicago, um, Detroit. They were moving into areas and bringing the drugs. So again, you got a lot of cats that weren't part of the cliques out there with as far as GDs and VLs. They
Like they
ended
don't
up.
have that on the East Coast. They didn't have that when I was growing up. There was no GDs. There was
Oh no,
no.
no, yeah. Even that's a, oh, yeah, I know that's a whole different dynamic. It GDs and VLs really are like that whole Minnesota, Milwaukee, Detroit, Chicago, Missouri, St. Louis, that whole little Midwest middle of the area is where it's, Gary, Indiana. That's the huge saturation of it. And then it kind of like branches out, but the saturation is right there in the center of the Midwest. Like again, really Chicago is like the hub. Um, but then Chicago and Minnesota and Minneapolis are only a few hours apart. So it's like
Yeah.
hit the freeway and there's a hop, skip, and jump. So um yeah, the gang life out there is a whole different dynamic in the Midwest than it is on the West. And
So
again, like
how do you even get down with the gang? Like, what's the process that you took to get down with the gang?
when I met Black, rest in peace, they had a record store, and I mean, Black ended up being a D boy, but at the time, I just knew he had the CD store in the swap meet. So you go to the swap meet to get your the Chucks, your Dickies, little we used to call them the Crip boots. Uh, and I ran into him, and so I thought I could rap, but my brother Bo got lyrics. So what I had done is he had these three verses that were hot. And I had memorized them. So battle rap wasn't battle rap it is today, but you could spit a verse and go back and forth with somebody and be like one or two verses and you could boom. But I had these two verses that were just on point, but they were actually Bo's verses. He had wrote them. So I changed a couple words to some West Coast lingo, but it fit. They were like, "Oh, okay, new cat, you got some flavor," and that's how I ended up linking with Black and them. And I remember hitting Bo when I had got on with him because we actually made a record. Um, Someone find that CD. It's funny as hell because uh, I think I might have weighed 180 pounds. I was skinny back then, and the record cover on it is like about 20 of us in the middle of Sunset Park, and Lokes on, hats, some of us overalls, but the Dickie Pendletons and um, uh, but that was the one of the album cover, and then we took a picture by the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, which that used to be Terminal 3 on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's not Terminal 3 anymore. It's where the like a lot of the helicopters right across from Mandalay Bay. And we had did a music video over there. Whole nother story, but that's how I ended up getting on with Black. I went to the mall. I used to go to that mall a lot because I lived right up the street on Lake Mead by the freeway entrance, and so we would always be at the swap meet. And I rapped for Black, and eventually I had to write more stuff. But I had called Bo one time. I told him what I did. He laughed, but I had like, "Yo, can you write me some stuff?" And he
Did he do
didn't.
it? He
No,
didn't.
he didn't. But I did some stuff on my own, and then we ended up making a record. I was on two of the songs, and then Black went to jail for dope, and it kind of put a fizzle on everything. And then so this was back around again. So this is early 90 91. So this is kind of like right as NWA and it was coming out. Uh, the Wrecking Crew. Um, you had a whole different dynamic um, of folks. It's funny because back in Minnesota at the time, Kelly Crockett and the IRM crew, the Immortal Rap Masters, those were the cats that was a big thing. They had this song, baby, baby, I want you. And it was on the radio, and everybody knew Kelly and went crazy over that song. Gangster rap wasn't on them in the Midwest. So when I got out there, it was kind of a persona, like, it was like really just let your mind go crazy and I mean be a good storyteller. And that's really what I tried to do back then with
Bring
the
a new
stuff that I wrote.
swag out to there, right?
Yeah. I had did some stuff that was kind of people that know about Brother Lynch Hung, gore rap and stuff. There was some things that was kind of I had did some things that were like before he came out with stuff and he became really big. I think that I think I probably if I had more time and Black hadn't went to jail, probably could have did something more and maybe really had more stuff out. But it didn't. It did again. It didn't really go
Brother Lin
nowhere.
Chung is the guy that ate that person, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
He
But he was.
cannibalized the person, didn't
Yeah.
he?
But he was real. Like again, when he first came out, everything was it was gory rap. It was just
Yeah,
stuff you had never heard about, hanging people and the whole thing. And
yeah.
and I remember I had wrote something. It was six to the six to the motherfucking six. Now you think I'm a lunatic, psychotic, demented. Hey, wait a minute. I don't worship the devil. I praise the God that made the maker, the maker, the maker. My mom, Uncle Tom, a racist to black society, a black sheep, black mass. You couldn't even hide from me and it went on and on. But it was one of those things like I wrote that and it came off the head and it was being around Black and Big Mo. It kind of brought stuff out and it was like, oh, okay, I could do this
The Ghetto
again.
Boys were out back
Oh
then.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
Bushwick, all that.
grave
So
diggers.
yeah, yeah,
You know. So
yeah.
was there a lot of shootings out there in Las Vegas? Like what was your daily life like in Vegas?
So so East Coast, 11-8 was the neighborhood. We had the twins from 7-6, Uno and Deuce. There was some 7-6s out there, two 190s. That this was before it was the Hop. So before Suge and them bought it and turned it into 662, it used to be called the Hop, and that was the spot where everybody used to go. So you see a lot of the Crips over there, Skyrider, Eddie Crip. Um, a lot of the neighborhood cats, and it also, but you had a lot of at that time was also as Death Row was coming out, a lot of Bloods and Crips was mingling because it was more about money than banging. But Vegas was always one of them things like there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't know and see because the police they keep that stuff off the strip. The tourism is how Vegas eats. So of course they're gonna make sure that all that stuff come down and play on the strip if you want to. They boost the ass.
It's
What
protected basically, right? You
very
protect the
protect,
strip, but you can do
man.
whatever you want outside of there, right?
It goes down outside of there. But when you get down to like, when you say like North Las Vegas, um, Henderson is not as hood as the rest. But like when you go to there's areas, um, the east side of Vegas, when you go down by Boulder Highway, um, Missouri Avenue, down by Boulder. Then when like I said, North Vegas, you got the Gersons, Donna Street, the Brownings. Um, uh, I'm missing some, but there was also the Bloods, which was these cats used to call themselves East Coast Bloods, and it was funny because it was right around the time when Black and then we had came out with that record, and he was like, "There's no such thing." When you think of all the neighbors, because a lot of those cats were neighborhoods from LA, so individuals that had moved from LA and started or brought their hood with them from there and set up shop and had cats that they put on. Um, or people that was idolizing something and just jumped on and started calling themselves stuff. There was I remember there was a time when um the Houston Oilers, the baby blue and the red, there was 60s out there that was clicking with Bloods. And so for a little while they were rocking Houston Oilers stuff, and the red and blue, it was like a unity thing. It didn't last long, but um again, there was stuff in Vegas that was happening that probably wasn't happening in LA or these cats was doing. But a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of stuff that goes on the outskirts outside the strip. So when you pretty much go uh north of the 95, so anything pretty much Bonanza north, that Rancho MLK, Eastern, uh I mean, and in the Mexican gangs, yeah, 28th Street. You have a lot of Mexican gang neighborhoods out there too. It's active out there. It just, it's just, again, the news ain't gonna report it. The local news will, but then again, they're not. You don't see it on the strip, so nobody's really sitting in their hotel room looking at the local news and hearing the stories.
Yeah.
Police do a pretty good job of keeping it off the strip. So like I said, for a while, that was the hookup of we used to hang on the strip and do the cruising, and then they would start nailing and getting curfew. You get anything under 18 because you'd have a lot of youngsters out there with the cars, and the police were striking down on curfew. You catch curfew tickets. I mean, I was of age at the time, so anything 18 and above, it was cool, but you couldn't go into casinos. But really, wasn't nobody trying to go into casinos. We slots of fun because you had the hot dogs right there, the huge hot dogs. But again, McDonald's, sitting at the McDonald's or at Arby's, and the lowriders. So,
Did you witness any violence out there in Las Vegas?
oh yeah.
Can you walk me through a situation maybe that you
um,
witnessed?
well, I can't get in trouble for something that no one died from it. It was I want to say it was the 4th of July. I had a partner that came and got me. So I really liked Kings of New York. He had two. Lawrence used to carry those 2.9s. Lorson 380s was cheap at the time. You could get a Lorson 380 for $105. So I used to carry two of them. And I remember the partner came and said he had got into it over on the west side, um, over kind of by Cary, and that would be Losi in the States was the neighborhood, but it was another neighborhood by the States. So I remember Black was with us. Black used to have a Nissan pickup truck, 8s and 10 Dayton's load. It had the blue diamond tuck plush interior. Um, so those Nissans, and then he had the camper shell on it.
Yeah.
So standing up to it, you probably come to about right here. You can look over the. It was a low. So I remember he came. The dude came and got us. So Black and I and Mo had went over to this neighborhood, and where he had got into it with the dudes. We exchanged words, and guns get pulled. I remember one of them was like, "Yo, hand me the pistol," and I remember I tossed him one because I had two. But as I pulled one, we used to go out and shoot in the desert. Never had I ever had a problem with this gun jamming, and it jammed on me. And we're sitting over the hook trying to shoot.
Oh
The
man.
car gets the car gets hit, but none of us got hit. But I mean, again, there's stuff that there's, yeah. Have I seen it? Yeah. Been around it? Yeah. There were some things that happened in Naked City, which is over there behind the Stratosphere. Um, I think they are trying to clean it up now, but back in the day, the early 2000s, the drugs was back there. That's zombie land. Uh, I had some partners that used to trap out of there. Um, There's some stories over there. We chased a dude through some neighborhoods. I remember we caught him in the backyard of somewhere else, and it was like five of us stomped him out. I remember left boot prints on those old. You could get them cheap at the swap meet. They came in black suede or blue suede, and but they were like Timberlands on the bottom of them. But you can get them cheap. But yeah, they left they left imprints on the dude's face.